Okay people, with the release of Boruto chapter 61, a question came to my mind that I wanted to discuss with you guys amongst talking about the events of Boruto chapter 61, because it's been weighing heavy now. It's been close to a year since the original creator of Naruto, Masashi Kishimoto, came and supposedly, because it never was officially pushed out, but supposedly came over and took over the story writing for the Boruto series, replacing the long time standing writer of the show, the manga shall I say, Ukyo Kodachi. And Kishimoto, I want to say, was about chapter either 52 or 53. He took the mantle and has been doing it ever since. Now, since Kishimoto has taken over, I want to say he took over towards the tail end of the previous arc. He basically took over the moment where a lot of us thought, holy cow, Naruto is going to die. Oh my god, this new Baryon mode, like right at the tail end of everything that Ukyo Kodachi had built, which a lot of fans, to be honest, including myself, felt a little bit like, damn, that's kind of shitty and unfair to Ukyo Kodachi, because all of the Korra arc was written by him. He built all of this up, and at the payoff moment, Kishimoto took over. But nevertheless, majority of us were excited. We were like, oh shit, Kishimoto's taking over, original creator, he's gonna rock the house, he's gonna make shit go crazy. And to a certain degree, at the very least for Boruto manga fans, it was kind of almost even misguided, because at that time especially, and for years prior to that, the Boruto manga had been hitting immensely well. Like, even in the downtime moments in between stuff going on, it was just very interesting, very engaging, always something to talk about every month, whether it be the mystery of Kashin Koji, the mystery of Kara, what's going on here or there. It was always something for like 2 or 3 years, since about, I want to say 2018-ish, maybe 2017, somewhere around there. It was just non-stop. Man, this is exciting, this is dope, this is awesome, even again in the downtime in between intermission chapters. Since Kishimoto has taken over, I've seen a trend, and again, including myself being involved in it, that we've kind of been like, okay, this is kind of interesting, okay, it's alright, but it hasn't been anything wowing, anything immense, aside from, again, him wrapping up, him being involved in the wrap-up of the Ishiki Otsutsuki battle with taking over the last chapter or so of that fight. Aside from that, the stuff following has just been set up and built up for, again, about 8 or so chapters, I want to say, maybe 9 at this point, and a few, it'll make it, you know, full-on 12, a full year. And that makes me want to pass the question off to you guys. Do you feel like, since the original creator of Naruto, Masashi Kishimoto, has taken over the mantle of Boruto, that it hasn't necessarily been for the betterment of the series? Because Boruto was on a high. The manga, right now, what's been going on in the anime, all of these months that people have been screaming, oh my god, this is crazy, oh my god, Naruto and Sasuke versus Jigen, oh my god, all of this awesomeness, is off the back of the written story from Ukyo Kodachi, not from what Kishimoto has done thus far. And I wouldn't be surprised if when we get to the stuff that Kishimoto has been writing the last year or so, we might not be that hype when the anime gets there. There might not be that type of hype, because there might not be that much fandom, just because, again, it's kind of felt a little bit sluggish. But again, I want to pass that question to you guys. How do you feel since Kishimoto has taken over, with all of the setup of almost damn near the past year of everything leading to code and whatnot? Do you feel like the Boruto manga has gotten slower and hasn't been as enjoyable or as well written, or just in general on the same level it was when Ukyo Kodachi was writing it for the majority, 90%, 95% at that, of the Kara story leading into the ending? Let's get into the Boruto chapter 61 stuff.
No matter how you feel, get it done. No matter how you feel, get it done. No matter how you feel, get it done. No matter how you feel, get it done.
Because it starts off with a colored page of Amado smoking a cigarette, which there's been a little bit of controversy around censorship, because the anime totally took over and got rid of the smoking. He's now a coffee addict. He doesn't smoke cigarettes anymore. And I felt like there was a couple of instances, including that cover page, that was a nod to that. Maybe the manga people were kind of like not happy about that. Maybe Ikemoto loves drawing, because, you know, artists, they have their little stick that they really enjoy doing. Maybe he really likes drawing those scenes of Amado smoking, because it does have a little bit of elegance to it. Again, I'm not promoting smoking. Actually, that shit is trash and garbage. Don't smoke, kids, adults, anybody, just don't. It's trash or whatever. But maybe artistically, it's really, really satisfying to the artist to draw Amado smoking. And maybe that's why there was, again, a couple of nods, including the cover color page of Amado smoking. And this time he's covering the cigarette as a nod to, yeah, it got censored. My favorite thing that I love drawing. But it begins with the tired-ass card game, whether that Boruto and them, or the collectible card game of Boruto trying to pull a Sasuke card, which I feel like the moment he finally pulls a big Sasuke card, the card that he's been wanting all this time, is going to be a very, very depressing time. It's going to be either Sasuke's death, Naruto's death, something really bad is going to happen when he finally does pull that card, because he pulls out a Shino, and yeah, I felt his pain when he pulled out Shino. Like, why the fuck am I getting this motherfucker? Put it back. I would have said, yo, can I get a refund? Like, what is this? But Boruto notices a Leaf Shinobi watching them, and apparently for a while now they've been watched 24/7. They are being highly monitored, which it does make sense. Honestly, they're doing their job, and I'm not even just talking about the Leaf Shinobi, the random fodder that we're seeing in this chapter. In general, the Leaf is doing what's supposed to be done. Like Naruto, he's a human being, as seen in this chapter. He's got to sleep, he got to take a shit. He can't always be watching 24/7, and even when he was, look what happened when Ishiki popped in, or Jigen popped in and busted that ass and kidnapped him and shit like that. Like, it can't always be. So yes, have Leaf Shinobi watching around the clock. It makes sense, and I understand their pain as well. Like, who wants to be watching? Like, you know, even in the 80s, Big Brother is watching. Like, yeah, nobody wants that shit, but it is absolutely necessary. So good on the Leaf, because, you know, in the Naruto days, people always said they don't act like real ninja. Danzo's the only real ninja. Like, that's real ninja shit. That's real stuff that, yeah, you need to be monitored. Shit is going crazy in here. But one of the very, very obvious plot devices begins with Shikadai explaining about the monitoring of Konoha and how they have the sensory barrier and all of that jazz that ultimately sparks what Kawaki does later in the chapter. Oh, well, maybe you only can do this, because basically he tells him, like, yeah, there's a barrier, and chakra is like fingerprints, essentially. They can sense you. Gave him all the blueprint, which it did feel a little bit convenient, because especially later on what Kawaki does is like, oh, so Shikadai said it. And I've noticed that the manga, opposed to the anime, really just utilizes when they do take some of the next gen. It's just like, oh, explain this plot, or be in a shitty situation. Like, that's about it. For once, it would be nice, even if it's just for a few pages, have the next gen do something like really worthwhile, not fucking shit up, getting kidnapped and a bomb wrapped around their neck like what Amado did to Shikadai, not giving information to Kawaki that he could use to sneak out of the Leaf. Like, something interesting, something good, adding value aside from stupid shit like that. Like Boruto, Sarada, Meat Scare, like the only ones from the new gen that actually be useful in a way. And I ain't gonna lie, when Boruto was complaining about wanting his privacy back, it did again feel like, you know how everybody feels like, you know, the phones are listening now and all of this jazz. Like, it did feel very real world issue-esque, similar to how the anime had that whole thing about the virus, and Boruto likes to play off social issues. But then going back into that argument I had at the beginning of this video about Masashi Kishimoto and how he's kind of just changed the vibe, so to speak, of the Boruto manga, is like, we had 5 pages of Sasuke, and you would think, yo, having Sasuke for 5 pages, you could do a lot with Sasuke 5 pages. You could have something interesting go on, something that adds value to everything. And the only thing that it added value was because later on Code popped up in one of those little, you know, scars that he was telling the guards to keep on watching, and he's probably not going to pop out of there anyway, which he was ultimately right. And I guess it also added exposition of Sasuke's standing in the Leaf, that he still looked at as like, yo, you were rotten back in the day. Like, maybe the younger ones don't really know all of Sasuke's history, so they think he's cool, but the ones that know about Sasuke, they're like, yo, you causing trouble right now. What are you doing? They don't respect him like that. They look at him like he's a nuisance, and they still have that whole, yeah, Sasuke is not the greatest guy in the world. So I guess that's what those 5 pages added, but realistically, it was just 5 pages of Sasuke talking to 2 fodder filler shinobi. Like, again, it added to the whole Code thing, but you take those 5 pages of Sasuke out of the chapter, and it changes nothing. It's just like, hey, Sasuke was right, which, yeah, Sasuke better be right about something, considering he's been wrong about his damn chakra. All these, Sasuke's chakra. And I mean, if there was going to be more about, like, the politics of Konoha, I guess it would have been useful of, like, hey, Sasuke's heroics from the 4th Great Shinobi War were never told to anybody. So yeah, that would have been, but I don't know. There was 5 pages of Sasuke for no reason, which is kind of crazy to say, because Sasuke is an awesome character, and that's one of Kishimoto's favorites to write from Naruto. Why not utilize those pages better? I mean, it could have even been the final 5 pages that, you know, Sasuke stops Code in his tracks or something. And man, probably my favorite moments of the chapter, I want to say, because I feel like Amado is the most important piece amongst everything, whatever it may be, whether he's a traitor, whether he's Kawaki from the future, that I did lay out a very well put argument of that, why he could be Kawaki from the future, you may want to go check that video out. I know it sounds outlandish, but it does make sense with everything going on. But fam, the awkward nature of that conversation between Amado and Shikamaru when Amado goes to the roof and pulls out a cigarette, which again was also a nod to the anime censorship of Amado smoking cigarettes, when he's like, yo, he's pulling out a cigarette, Shikamaru's like, whoa, 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 what are you doing? This is a no smoking area, as he's smoking a cigarette. Like, those are the moments that I really like about Shikamaru. Shows that little badass nature that he kind of, I would say more so developed as he got older. Like, you know, he's hard body about shit. He's not a jokester by any means. And even if it's wrong, like, because when he don't like somebody, that's something I think that was more so added down the road with Shikamaru that I would definitely say is Boruto series-esque thing with him, where if he don't like somebody, he's going to be biased and he's going to be an asshole about it. Like, he tells Amado straight up, like, you know, yeah, everything, I get what you're saying, but honestly, I feel like all of this that's going on right now is still going according to your master script. Like, this is all Amado manipulating everything that's happening, which to a certain degree, he was also right about that, because later on in the chapter, Kawaki is once again thinking about Amado's words to him about protecting Naruto and all that jazz and his admiration and all that shit, and how Naruto can't defeat Code, and manipulated Kawaki into leaving the village. So yeah, Shikamaru's probably 1,000% right on that. But again, I don't know necessarily if it's that Amado is evil, or it could be that he comes from a future, which I got a very interesting theory I'm going to add in a bit, of what possibly the beginning of Boruto really could have been. But maybe, again, Amado is doing this not necessarily from a bad angle. It's just he got to protect certain elements so that he don't ruin a timeline, for example. Because when Amado says, you know, nah, the last half a year, which kind of gave us a time frame of how long things have been going on, but the last half a year, it's been surprise after surprise, but especially Kawaki's devotion to Naruto. Like, every move he's making is for Naruto. And that got me thinking, what if the beginning of Boruto, episode 1, chapter 1, we always got to reference it, I know, it is what it is, get with it, ultimately is not even this timeline? What if we're seeing a timeline from which Amado comes from, where Kawaki was evil, he never felt the love from Naruto, he never went through any of that, and he was basically a bastard piece of shit. So a lot of things that we think we're seeing in terms of this bond and shit like that was never actually even a part of Boruto and Kawaki to that degree. Maybe Naruto died before Kawaki could really form those type of feelings. Like, there's a possibility that that's not even going to actually happen, that adult Boruto versus adult Kawaki, and that was actually a timeline that once was, but the timeline has gotten muddied so much that it's not going to happen. Again, assuming that, you know, time travel and shit is happening, Amado is actually Kawaki from a different timeline or a different future and used the karma mark to go to the past. That would be crazy, but who knows? And you could clearly tell, in my opinion, at the very least, that Shikamaru was testing Amado to just get a gauge of what's going on with him, when he's like, well, who knows? Maybe Code got depressed and, you know, he's not going to come and attack after all. And he gives this look, like he's looking really serious at Amado, like he could grill a freaking hole through him, and Amado laughs and says, that's so naive, especially for you, but no, he's coming. I wonder if Shikamaru was saying that, like, to check, like, does he 100% know that this is about to happen? Like, is he going to be certain about it? Maybe Shikamaru was just trying to gather intel in a very manipulative manner of, let me say something to see how he's going to respond to that, because Shikamaru is smart enough to know that a bastard motherfucker ain't going to just get depressed and be like, I know the Otsutsuki, I can't no more. No, Shikamaru's very, very intelligent, so I wonder again if he's just trying to, who knows, maybe he's on the path of, like, you know a lot, maybe you from the future. But then we cut to the last act of the chapter with Kawaki going to throw out trash, throw out some magazines, even though it's late, and you see Naruto and Hinata watching a soap opera as Naruto is falling asleep. Again, convenient. I mean, at some point Naruto gotta live his life, right? Like, he gotta have some type of time with his family and shit, so it does make sense. But considering the nature of everything that's been going on in the Leaf, you falling asleep where aliens is popping through and, like, trying to destroy and you know, I don't know, I would be very stressed out and very anxious at all times, especially having this bomb in my house that's Kawaki, or the eye of what a lot of people are after, Code and, you know, the remnants of Kara. And with, again, the fodder shinobi, I wish they would have used some shinobi that, like, we actually know. Like, why are these random motherfuckers that look like they're filler characters from the Boruto anime? I almost guarantee the Boruto anime is going to add more to these little shitheads that, like, you know, they're no-name motherfuckers. Like, you could have had somebody from part 1 of Naruto, you know, Shippuden from back in the day, that their job is to do things like this. Like, that would have been a little more interesting than again, just these shitheads. But Kawaki pretends he falls into a bush, and ultimately that was the setup for him to leave a clone. And again, these Leaf Shinobi that are, monitoring the situation aren't the most brightest. They just like, oh, well, we can sense the chakra, everything is A-okay. However, Boruto can sense that something is off. Even though Kawaki came in, he still senses that Kawaki's chakra is outside, which again starts implementing even more so of the elements of, because they are Otsutsuki and they have this karma connection, well, at the very least they had a karma connection, but they're still both Otsutsuki. That's probably why Boruto was able to deduce that something was off, because again, nobody else could sense it. The big sensory thing couldn't even sense it. And it makes me wonder, like, there better be an amazing explanation on how the hell Kawaki was able to figure out how to hide and mask his chakra. He's not a shinobi. He barely learned to use the shadow clone and stuff like that. How the hell do you know how to do something like that? That is basically an instinctive thing for Otsutsuki, and you don't even got karma anymore, so you can't just use karma that's been like a plot device to do a lot of things, to say, oh, it was the karma that engulfed him. Like, how did he figure that shit out is something that I definitely want with a good explanation. But Ada, with her hack's ass power, was able to see that Kawaki left and he's on his own, and starts telling Code, yo, it might be the time, lad. And I love how Ada's just there with Damien, like he's all knocked out and tired, like this little fucking creature in her arms and shit. Like, Ada might be best guy when she gets animated, fam. I'm just saying. And it also made sense that Ada was the one that was, relaying the information, at the very least to us, the audience, but also to Code, that it is an Otsutsuki instinctive thing to be able to hide chakra, although she's not sure how he did it, which basically, this was all Kawaki, figuring it out in his mind. It wasn't that like somebody told him or anything like that, because again, Ada would have noticed or would have heard it. But Code is on the move, which was the only part of the chapter that made Sasuke's little conversation with those two little shinobi relevant, where he pops into a different part that the shinobi are not looking at, scar that he had on a tree there, which is like, okay, still, that was a waste of 5 pages of Sasuke. That could have been utilized better, but yeah. And I ain't gonna lie, it was creepy and also funny when Ada said it was gross of Code leaving his mouth there on a flap of a scar so that Ada could give him the intel. It was weird. But Boruto goes upstairs to confront Kawaki about like, yo, what's going on? How are you doing this? Why is your chakra outside? Why are you a clone here? And, how did I deduce all of this shit? Like, we're just baby geniuses out here. No, but, he couldn't chase after Kawaki because the guards are watching, which I have no doubt in my mind that if it does go down the route of a Boruto versus Kawaki part 1 type of situation, which it doesn't seem so in comparison to how it felt when we got the spoilers initially, it seems a little bit more like there's more to it because they have such a stronger bond than like the Naruto and Sasuke bond from Naruto. Like, it seems like their bond is strong enough to, even though Kawaki is trying to sneak and lie and get away without telling Boruto, when Boruto does approach him about it, he isn't necessarily like, you stupid motherfucker, get away from me or some shit like that. He's just kind of like, yo, he knows, and the real Kawaki is like, oh shit, Boruto knows. So again, I don't necessarily know if this right here at the very least is going to go down that route of Boruto versus Kawaki. Again, the whole narrative could be changing to where we never get a Boruto versus Kawaki situation, and that future again that we saw at the very beginning was a future that never actually happens because of time travel. I know I'm throwing that in there, but this is my thoughts. And the chapter ends off with Ada telling Code that Kawaki has left the village and he's heading west, and Code is like, boom, okay, I'm just gonna go ask him what the hell is he doing directly, and at the same time possibly he could try and kill him and get his revenge, because remember, he wants revenge against Kawaki, he wants revenge against Naruto and everybody that was involved in the death of Ishiki. What is Kawaki up to? First of all, big question that really needs a good explanation. If not, it's straight up bullshit. How the hell was Kawaki able to hide his chakra without knowing, unless it was because he got the idea from hearing that, like, oh, you need to be able to hide chakra. Maybe instinctively it happened, the Otsutsuki DNA in him kicked in and was able to do it. He just kind of practiced it in his head or something like that. So that's a possibility there. Also, what is his goal regarding leaving the village and all this jazz, knowing that Code and them are going to go after him? Is he trying to be a sacrificial lamb? Is he going to offer to join them in exchange for leaving Naruto in the village alone? Like, what is he trying to accomplish with doing this shit, sneaking off? We get it that ultimately his big thing is that he wants to protect Naruto. How is going off on your own when they want to kill you as well? Like, they want to kill Naruto and you, not just you. How is that going gonna help the situation, unless he's gonna offer up, say, hey, yo, I'm still like mostly Ishiki. We could probably bring Ishiki back as long as you guys promise that you're gonna leave the leaf alone. And back to my beginning question, because again, now it seems like we're about to start kicking into high gear with Code showing up. Sasuke is on the move as well. Like, things is about to start heating up. But do you feel like things haven't been for the best with Kishimoto taking over the mantle from Ukyo Kodachi at the tail end of, I want to say it was November of last year? Only time will tell at this point if, you know, the finale of it all, or the big pieces now that we're about to get into, can outdo some of the stuff we've seen in Boruto up until now. But in terms of like the last 8 or 9 months leading into this one, I would definitely say it hasn't felt the same like what Ukyo Kodachi was kicking up. It could be because Kishimoto is more used to doing a weekly serialization and doesn't know, like, yo, on a monthly thing, you need to deliver more than Sasuke talking to some fodder freaking Shinobi that nobody gives a shit about. Your overall thoughts and expectations for the Boruto manga with chapter 62 and beyond. Is Amado from the future and that Boruto versus Kawaki fight that we saw in the beginning of the series actually a timeline that never happened and is never going to happen? But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links are in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life, boy. Have an awesome day. Peace in. And yeah, hopefully things start to kick into high gear, because at the end of the day, we've had a lot of setup now, almost a year's worth of setup. It's time to see where things move from here and the motives and all of that jazz. I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out.
Subscribe to ForneverWorld.